So hey, this is Gary from GaryZaban.com. So in this video, I want to talk to you today a little bit about sales and marketing, and specifically about how you can start making sales quick. Now, I'm in Bangkok, Thailand right now in the JJ market, which is supposedly the biggest market in the world, or the biggest market in Bangkok. And one of the things that you'll find here is that it's really how people make sales here is very efficient. In other words, like you could just put a sign on the street and put some things out and put a sign that says like 20 baht, and you could be in business and you could be selling things. So in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you can make your selling much easier and much more consultative in nature. And I'm going to give you a framework that you could use anytime you're having a call with somebody that you can go through to try to figure out what are their needs, what are their problems, what are their challenges, and how you can best adapt your solution to their particular problem or challenge. So the framework that I'm going to give you is called SPIN, and it stands for Situation, Problem, Implication, and Needs Payoff. And I'm also going to give you two resources at the end of this video that you can go check out if you like this and want to learn more information about this framework. So first of all, what is this framework? Well, this framework is a very simple way to think about how you can ask people questions. So when it comes to sales, the number one thing that you want to do, and the number one mistake that most people make, is that they talk too much. So this is universal in selling, and if you find yourself talking a lot when it comes to sales calls, you're definitely doing something wrong. So you probably already know that you should be asking questions, but you might not know what kind of questions you should be asking. So in order to know what kind of questions and how to structure your questions, I'm going to give you the framework. So here's the framework. Situation, problem, implication, and needs payoff. So S for situations are situational questions. Those are the questions that people ask most of the time when they're doing calls. These questions are examples like, how long has this been a problem? Or what is that about? Or just like how long, or it's just like questions regarding the situations. And what you'll find is those type of questions aren't that valuable when it comes to making a sale. So the next, those are situational based questions, and those are the questions that most people ask when they're talking or they're trying to make a sale. The next type of questions are problem questions, and these are questions that are focused on the problem, like what's the problem here, or yeah, like essentially like what is the problem, and tell me more about the problem. So that's the next level of questions, and those are more useful than just situational questions. Now the third level of questions are what's known as implications. These are the most powerful questions that you should ask, could ask, need to ask, and they're the ones that are the hardest to ask. So what are implication questions? Well, implication questions are questions about how the particular problem, essentially what is the problem that a person is having causes. Now that sounds a little bit complicated, but it's basically like this. Like an example would be if somebody's having a hard time getting on the phone, you want to ask what is the impact on that? Like what is that causing? Well, that could be causing frustration or nervousness, or not making enough sales, or not making rent, or not supporting your wife or girlfriend, or not supporting your family. So those are implications. And what you really want to focus on is developing implication questions when you're talking with people, because that's where the problem leads into a pain. So if you can get to a pain with a person, then you can move them emotionally. And most people, like I said, don't ever get to this type of questions because, one, they're very hard to ask. It takes a lot of courage for you to ask those type of questions. And it also, they're hard to answer for people because they have to really think about it and dig deep and try to identify why is that a problem, and they get to connect what all their problems mean in the larger scope of things. So that's the implication questions. The next and the fourth layer is need payoff questions. And need payoff questions are essentially like, if you could solve this problem, what would that do for you? So need payoff means what would be the payoff if you could solve this big problem that we've identified with the implications. And if you could get somebody to tell you the need payoff answers, in other words, like if you've identified their pain, you've identified their problems, you've identified the implications, in other words, the problems that those problems are causing, then the fourth layer here is like, okay, now we know the pain, we know all the reasons why you have it. What would it look like if you could solve this? Like, what would be the payoff be? What would be the value of it? That's okay, you can get in the video. What would be the payoff? And you want to get people to tell you what the payoff would be so that you could establish the value of the problem. And once people tell you the need payoff, then they've established the large value of what it'd be worth for them to solve that problem. And then you could talk about price. And that makes it really easy because now you're talking about the value of what you got. You build up the value with the problems and the implications and the needs payoff. And now you can talk about the price because you framed it correctly. So again, the framework is situation, spin. Situation, problem, implication, and needs payoff. Use that framework and you'll notice that you'll be able to get a lot more clients and be able to get a lot more money from each client. Now the two resources I want to give to you where you can check out more information about this and go more in depth is if you go to my blog, GaryZaidman.com, and I'll have 2 books for you that I recommend you check out. And buy those 2 books and you'll learn much more about the framework and how you could use it to grow your business and grow your sales. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.